Mhm. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Is Chris Miller, aka Chris Crazy House, back again finally to do a new live stream. I took off last week because my daughter was out for fall break. Like I said before, I didn't know kids got fall break, but she got one, so they had that last week, and I spent some time with her. We had a fun time, by the way. I was very tired by the end of that day. I was exhausted, but like I said, it was a fun time. But we are here for today's live stream. And for those who are here, feel free to join in on the chat. Today, I'm going to be talking about a few things, but the main thing I want to talk about was just some of the crazy clients that I've had over the years working as an independent animator, an independent illustrator. And what prompted me to do this was I had a conversation with a man who was an actual uh, architectural contractor, and we were just shooting the breeze, and we started going back and forth telling war stories about contracting our services, and you wouldn't believe just how similar the struggle is that we all deal with. And I'm also, once more people show up, probably towards the end, I will showcase these new books that I got going on here. First and foremost, the brand new volume 2 of Big Monty is out right now. I'll probably do a more comprehensive video on it once the books get here, because I just ordered a bunch of them on Amazon, and they should be here tonight. That's what they said. So hopefully it should get here by tonight. So Big Monty book 2, which is called Big Monty and the Cyborg Substitute, is out now and it's on Amazon. I'm going to go find the link and post it in the chat so you guys can go pick it up. But that is available now on Amazon in paperback, and I believe the Kindle version is also available at this time. Hardcover is not available, I don't think, just yet, but it will be soon. So let me go grab the link, and you guys can go pick it up. It should be on my Facebook channel. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, that's came out maybe 2 days ago, and I'm very proud of it. We put a lot of work into it. It went a lot faster this time because we had a system down. So like while I was creating illustrations, the author was, refining the manuscript, and we had a separate person doing the actual editing of the book. So as I was finishing images, I would just send it to her, and she was kind of putting it together in the book form. So like literally as soon as I was done, maybe a few days later, like we kind of went back and forth on the cover a little bit and the back cover, and like within 5 days it was done, and we had to submit it to Amazon. So Big Monty and the Cyborg Substitute is out right now, and you guys can go get it on Amazon. And like I said, I'm very proud of this project. It came out really good. It's actually a very funny story. We get to see more of the main character Merlin as well as his other friends. Like we got to see a little bit of the character Alo, who was like not so much a friend, but kind of a rival of Merlin in the first book. In this book too, but you get to see them kind of team up together to find out what's going on with this weird and crazy looking substitute teacher. So, and there's an extremely funny part towards the end that I like the most, but I won't spoil it for you guys. But you can go get the book right now on Amazon. I just posted the link in the chat, and I would appreciate you guys going to buy it. If you do get it, and either you or your young one reads it, make sure that you do a review on Amazon, because I think that's very important. That helps out with the rating, as well as it helps with recommending it to other people once you give it a good review. Sorry, I just need to plug in my phone and camera so it doesn't go dead. But yeah, uh, make sure once you read the book, get a review. And I would very much recommend it for whatever young people you might have in your house, whether they be boys or girls. But the main demographic who we're trying to get to is young Black boys. And I think it's very important that they get more into reading. And when they see themselves, that's a very good thing. So, what I've been busy doing the last few weeks is just working on my coloring books, but also, if you remember my other live streams, my office looks a little bit different now. You see, I'm closer to my bookshelf. That's just because I've reorganized my desk to where I can sit more towards the corner and I can just spin around and grab my reference books. And I'm going to be hanging up some more things as well. I hung up a whole bunch of posters over there, like the drawing area, and where I do my like hand drawing animations on the other side. So that's why I'll be doing all that stuff. And as time goes on, I'll be adding more decorations. Like right now, all the decorations are not up yet, but I'm working on that in my office so I can have a nice, cozy, fun office that I've always wanted to have. I've been wanting this for years. And when we bought this house, I knew this was going to be the room, but I just hadn't had a chance to really get in there. We've been here for a year now, and I'm really just getting started as far as like decorating my office. Like we've been so concerned with other parts of the house. Like my daughter, she got brand new, spanking new bedroom furniture when we first moved here, of course. And then like later on, we concentrated on our bedroom, my wife and I's bedroom. And then we started decorating, like redecorating the downstairs, the kitchen, and everything else. So I haven't put any time into my own stuff, but now I'm starting to do that. Excuse me. Oh, thank you very much for the people that said I have cool artwork. HGL7, I appreciate that. Said growing up, I wanted to become an animator cartoonist, but I went through changes, and also I couldn't handle the pressure of deadlines. That's the main thing. I've just been. I found this new YouTube channel that just talks. It's called. I think it's called Struggling Comic Book Artist or something like that. It's just a guy who's an independent artist. He talks to all these major artists. He talks to people like Neil Adams, Adam Hughes, and everyone else, and just asks them questions about the industry. But he was. They say that's the main thing is making your deadline. If you're an artist who can make a deadline, you'll be able to get work quicker than an artist who's more talented than you are, and I can attest to that because there are plenty of people out there who are way more talented than I am, but I know how to get stuff done. Like I've been the person who's been able to get like my. I remember my animation teachers told me that when I was in school. When we had our first animation project, I was the only one to get my project done the way I said I was going to get it done. So I had made the script, the storyboards, and kind of blocked out the sound effects of where everything was going to go. And I kind of showed the proposal to my teacher. And he's like, damn, you're the only one that actually finished what he said he was going to do. And I thought that's what we were supposed to do in class, but everyone else kind of like fell off, or like they got maybe half the project done, or they only got the pencils done. Like mine was fully colored, had all the sound effects and voiceovers in it and everything. But I got it done. Everyone else didn't get it done. But I don't know what grades they got, but I thought that was the point of the project. He didn't say anything until like the last day when everyone handed everything in. He said, Chris is the only one that got his stuff done. But that's always been my thing. I always like to get stuff done. And hopefully you guys, if you haven't seen them, please go on this channel and check out some of my animation on here. Like I just put up the majority of the horror, more serious themed animations that I've done over the years on this channel. So you guys can go check that out whenever you get a chance. And just let me know in the comments what you think about it. I'll probably be putting up some more hopefully by the end of next week, because I have to make sure this file, the files are working the way they're supposed to. I'm not sure about doing any re-editing or not. But I did a film back in 2011 independently called Amut's Angel, which was about a black woman who was like an actress or whatever who got murdered by this cult, and then she comes back and gets revenge. And she's brought back by the god Amut from Egyptian mythology, who like eats souls or whatever. So I did that back in like 2011, 2012, and it won maybe what did I win? I think I maybe won like second place in some like film festival, some animation film festival, but uh it never really went any further than that. But I never got a chance to, and I never even really got a chance to finish the film. There's only really part of it that was done. It wasn't a full film, it was just a short. I planned to do feature length later on, but just never got a chance to do it because I started working in video games right after that. So we'll see how I'm going to try to put that up on this channel. I probably can't put up all of it on YouTube. I don't know if YouTube will let me just do like adult, because there's a scene in the second part of the short where there's a woman getting tortured and she has no clothes on. I mean, it's not gratuitous, but you can see her breasts. But I don't know what YouTube's going to do about that. I mean, YouTube has people getting their pap smears done on YouTube. So I don't know what, like, I don't know if they'll get upset with my little cartoon where you'll see some breast or you see someone's nipple, but you never know. They seem to have a problem with me putting up anything on YouTube nowadays, it seems like. But I'll see what I can do with that next week. So yeah, that's what. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about my crazy clients over the years. Like I said before, what made me want to do this is talking to an actual architect and his issues with clients, and just sitting there thinking like, okay, it's not just me out here. For a while, I thought it was just me that dealt with crazy clients, but I guess not. And if you guys want an example of what I'm talking about, there's two things I think you should go watch on YouTube that I think will help you understand the issues that artists have to deal with when dealing with certain clients. There's the easiest one probably to find is there's a talk given by Kevin Smith where he talks about his how he wrote a script for a Superman film back in like the late 90s, and he had to work with this producer named, I think his name was John Peters, if I'm not mistaken. He went on to produce that Will Smith Wild Wild West movie and a couple other films as well. But Kevin Smith just tells the whole story about dealing with John Peters and the nonsense he had to deal with when trying to write the script with this guy. That's a good example of what I've had to deal with working as an artist. And another example is there's a deleted scene from the movie Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg where he's working with an engineer trying to get his music album produced. And I felt so bad for that engineer in that scene. It's a deleted scene. You go look up Boogie Nights deleted scene where they're trying to produce his Mark Wahlberg's album in the movie. It's hilarious, but I've been there. I've had people stand over me and say, "Hey, we need to change this, change that." And the worst part of it is, yeah, the part where things you got the touch, but there's more to that. That's the part that made it into the movie, but there's more to it than that. There's like a deleted scene that leads up to that part where he's working with the engineer. They're just being a complete pain in the ass to this engineer. They're talking about stuff they don't even know what they're talking about. And that's the thing where the biggest problem I ever had with clients is clients who are not even necessarily that they're not creative, because I work with people who are not creative people, and that seems to move a lot smoother, and they just leave stuff to me. It's a lot worse when you have people who think they're creative. Like that's worse than people who just have no creativity whatsoever. Like I talked about this job before where I had to draw the uh I worked for a website that catered to men who like big women back in like 2010, 2011. So I had to draw a lot of a lot of BBW women for that website. And that guy, that was actually a decent experience because that guy, he didn't have any type of creativity whatsoever as far as art goes. He would just kind of direct me and say, "Hey, these girls need to be bigger," which to me was funny because I thought I was drawing them big already. And he said, "No, they gotta be bigger than that." I was like, "Okay." So like, and the research for that was very disturbing. I'll say that. But I just thought was that was one of those situations where, like I said, he was not a creative person. He didn't know much about design or artwork, but so he left a lot up to me. But he just said like, this is kind of like what you might need to use as a reference. Like he showed me, like he gave me like a lot of like graffiti and rap albums to design the website, but mostly like as far as the big girls go, he's like they gotta be like this size. He was like sending me pictures. I'm like, oh my god. I was some of these were a little too big. I don't mind a little meat on the bones or girls being thick or whatever, but they were going overboard with that. But there are guys who like that, so I have no problem with that. So, but that's a situation where with working with someone who's not creative at all and everything runs smooth. Like he paid on time. I never had to chase him down for a paycheck, and he always paid on time and gave me my space. And I was able to actually do other jobs while I was working with him because he wasn't like someone that was super aggressive or whatever. He's a real laid back guy, but he just made sure I hit those deadlines. He was cool with it. Uh, Another thing is, like I said, but the other jobs I'm going to talk about right now are people who think they know what's good and what's creative, and they just have no idea whatsoever. I'll start with the most. Well, I'll just start with my first experience as far as like being an artist in the industry when I was an intern. I worked for this company called Exodus Entertainment in South Florida when I was an intern, and uh, oddly enough, I think that they actually created the concept of what became later like G4. They were doing they were thinking about putting a network together for video games back in like the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and I don't know if they some of them claim that they did show it to certain networks and the networks kind of stole it from them, but I mean they did other things as well. And I worked on some of their other projects because we did some projects for Procter and Gamble. We did some what was the name of that website? We did some stuff for the Kennedy family. Uh, we did some stuff for there was this really crappy uh, cartoon idea that never saw the light of day, and thank God it didn't. But that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Is that the guy? This is my first experience of working with a company where the people thought they were creative and they didn't know but they still didn't know what they wanted. Like this guy wanted these little weird plush type characters designed for a website, but the way he wanted them designed, they just didn't look good at all. They weren't appealing to any kid whatsoever. I'm trying to think of a good idea of what they might look like. They look like, well, let's say if you took like the character like the Grimace from McDonald's and you put four big googly eyes on the Grimace, like and added fur or whatever. Like that's what this character looked like, or all the characters look like. They're just different colors. And it was one of the worst ideas I had ever seen. But this guy was so sure about it. And he was thinking, oh, it's going to be a big success. And he got some money. Remember, he got some money from these bankers or whatever to produce it. And that's how he was able to hire Exodus to do it for him. But it, there was just a lot going on there that just I was like, this is not going to work. And I was at a very young age where I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't say anything because I'm just starting out in the industry. So maybe I don't know everything, right? But I can see that this wasn't going to work. And obviously, you've never seen it or never heard of it. So you don't, obviously, this idea never went anywhere. So we were working on it. And like the guy, he would just keep coming in and say, okay, you need to change this or add this, like add more eyes here or make the eyes bigger here. And the guy just had no idea what he was talking about. And like I said, it was just weird to me as a young artist. That was my first real uh my first real view of seeing how there are people out there who just don't know what they're doing. Like I always assumed that everyone who got into a position where they're a producer or who have financing to do something, I always assumed that those people knew what they were doing. That's how they got there. And I learned real fast just with that one experience that it's usually the people with the most funding who have no idea what they're doing. Another example of this is when I worked in Miami. I worked for this TV station down there doing their web animation. They this is where things get crazy is when you're working with someone and one of their family members has an idea that they want to produce. So I was working for this guy's company and like his sister wanted to produce some animation. And so he suggested like me working with his sister to produce this animation. And they wanted to produce this Christmas animation called Santopia. One of the lamest things I had ever heard of or seen in my life. And like they had this whole story of, Santa. It was going to be like Santa Claus's origin story, where he was left out on someone's doorstep and grew up, and he's really part of this royal family, and he had like these weird little elf friends or whatever. And this is where I knew this was not going to work. First of all, like this woman, she thought she was creative because she was a one of those females who married into a rich family. Like the guy that I was working with, like they always had to work for their life, but his sister had married into this rich family, and they had lots of money. Like they lived in like they had they had like a mansion on like Star Island or whatever. Everyone knows where that is, kind of like in on South Beach. They had like this little. You have to get. You can't even get to it. You have to go across a bridge to even get there. It's almost like you're going to meet royalty or something like that. But like they had this really expensive house, and like she just had nothing to do basically. So like this was her thing. Like she was gonna come up with an idea, and she had a daughter who, by the time I met them, her daughter was like 20, I guess. But she had her daughter was a teenage mom. So she was one of these rich kids who was a teenage mom, and they had a little girl, and then they wanted to make a cartoon about her as well. And like I said, when you have people that just have all that money and all that time, those can be some of the worst clients to work with. And they just came up with one bad idea after another, or they would try to tell you like how things should be done or how things should be drawn, and they would hire people who weren't qualified to design things. Like they would hire people who were not animators. They would hire like people who are like fine artists to design characters, and these people and like fine artists are good and all, but they're not production artists. They don't know how to design characters usually. So they would hire people like that, and I was the only real animator there with any real animation experience, and they were still. But I would always get overruled by people who were like fine artists or people who didn't have any art skills whatsoever. Like I said, the woman herself, like her daughter would interject ideas, and like her daughter would just like kind of show up from before a meeting here and there. It was just like, what? Why does she have any input? She's only showing up for the free food during the lunch meeting anyway. So why does she have any input? But I remember one day when we were designing some elves for this Santopia terrible idea. Uh, I remember the lady literally. I'm using pronouns because I don't want to use people's real names because I don't feel like dealing with them later on. She's the type that will sue you if you make it seem like she's a bad person, but she actually looks and acts a lot like the matriarch of the Kardashian family. So she looks like Kris Kardashian. Like if you can imagine Kris Kardashian with long hair, that's what this woman was like. And I remember her. She came to my apartment at the time. I had a studio apartment on South Beach, and she came there while I was working designing stuff, and she kind of like stood over me, and I had designed this really really cute little elf character, and people knows how I draw kid characters, right? Usually very cute, good stuff. People usually enjoy my art, but not for her. She stood over me It made me change the character's face, add purple hair on the animal, on the elf, change his ears, give it big feet. It didn't look right at all. By the time she left, it looked terrible. And I wish I still had the side by side comparison of these two characters, but I threw it away because I was disgusted by it. And once I didn't work for her anymore, I was like, I'm so glad I can get rid of this. But it was it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, you don't your idea of knowing what art is you going shopping, because that's what she would always tell me. Like she's like, oh, I know what young kids like because I go shopping all the time for my daughter and granddaughter. And she's like, oh my god, like imagine having a Kardashian over your shoulder, help forcing you to design something for their empty-headed family. That's what that job was like, and I remember being torturous back then. But my saving grace was the fact that I still had employment elsewhere, but also that I was still. That's when I was really working hard on my own Chris Crazy House website. So for me, it didn't. I still had that creative outlet, so that job was just like extra money on the side. Let's see, what's the other one? This one is not so much as big of a deal, but it was just a pain in the butt going back and forth on this. Like I worked for this website called United Intentions, which was kind of like a religious website, but more of on a self help type thing. And like we designed these little videos that had these little stick figure characters, kind of like you see on some of these advertisements where they have like a little stick figure character showing you what to do and where to go on the website. And I'll be damned, like you would think this would be a simple job because the characters were stick figures, but they had me going back and forth designing a stick figure. It's like, okay, the stick figure, his head needs to be this big. Like they had to go back and forth. Like when I mean back and forth, I mean there's like a committee of people around a long table deciding what a stick figure should look like. We all know what a stick figure looks like, and I was like, why does it take this much time to decide what we need to do with this stick figure? Then they had to decide if the stick figure was going to be in black and white, or was it going to be colored blue, or was it going to have big real hair, or was it going to have little spiky hair, or is it going to have no hair at all? Should the stick figure have eyebrows? Like stuff like that can be very annoying after a while, especially when you're the only artist working on it. And like for me, it was just like, damn, we're just doing stick figures. Let's just get this thing done. We could have been done 2 weeks ago, but like I said, they were going back and forth and back and forth. And for a lot of you guys, when you see certain movies, certain movies that it looks like they tried to do too many different things in the movie and things just went wrong. That's what went wrong. Is you have this whole table of people. It's not the creative people that are in control of it. That's why I try to tell folks, like when people are getting mad at the writers or the creative people that worked on Game of Thrones, like when that last season or whatever, I was like, don't be so sure it was the writers that did that. There are people sitting around a table telling you what to put in these, especially when they're spending that much money. They're telling them what to put in these things and how to do it and how to do the story, and they're not writers at all. And they're telling you how things should go. That's why you notice in certain when Game of Thrones first started, the story was a lot better, and I was like, that's because HBO gave them money to do it, but they didn't think it was going to go as far as it did, so they kind of left them alone. Once something becomes popular like that, you start getting more cooks in the kitchen. More people start advancing in there and trying to put their hands in and trying to put their stamp on it and saying that they had a good idea. The same thing happened with the Star Wars franchise. When Disney took over Star Wars, more cooks start coming in the kitchen and start interjecting their ideas, and what comes out on the other end is a mess. That's what happened with that Justice League movie. That Justice League movie was a mess because you had so many different people interjecting their ideas about how things should go in the Justice League movie. Like they had several scripts for that, and people were trying to, like, you'll have one producer that has his set of writers, and you have another producer who has his set of writers or a friend of his that he knows, and he wants his buddy to write in this film. So like I said, it just becomes a mess. And someone tries, like, I feel bad for directors like Joss Whedon, who had to come into that situation and try to fix it. And things just go crazy. Like, a lot of people give Zack Snyder a lot of grief. I don't, based on the fact that I've seen, he's actually a very talented artist, but but working in that corporate world and working with that much pressure on him, I don't think he can perform. Or like, I think if he just was left alone, he would produce better films. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at his the Dawn of the Dead remake and also that 300 movie, where he was somewhat left alone to produce those, they came out a lot better than some of the other things he's done. Like Man of Steel wasn't that bad, but I don't think that. But even so, even that Warner Brothers tried to inject stuff into that wasn't originally supposed to be his part of his vision. Like if you look at if you look at Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and the Justice League, that was actually supposed to be more of a Superman trilogy, and you can kind of see it still there in the way that the Superman character has a story arc, but that kind of got pushed to the side because they were trying to catch it with Marvel. So it's like, let's put all these superheroes in here, let's move things faster, and let's have a big team up because Marvel's kicking our ass with the superhero movies. And like Warner Brothers just discovered that they owned a super comic book company. So like, oh, we own Batman, we own all these characters, let's put them in a movie. That's pretty much what happened with the Justice League thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes a lot of people blame certain folks and don't think about what's going on behind the scenes. And I've seen what goes on behind the scenes, so I know. Don't always blame the people who are the head writers or whatever. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Those do say the survey, or the where they have those viewing parties they have, like they'll show it to like their friends or something like that, and their friends will suggest something, and they'll want to change the whole movie based on that. You gotta be careful with that sometimes, and that's why sometimes it's good to be independent and not have to depend on a committee of people to green light or put out your movie. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it's good to have that committee and that feedback. I'm trying to think of a director that's actually good for people like uh, let's see. Well, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but like I said, sometimes it's good to have that feedback, but a lot of times a lot of corporate interests get tied into these things and things don't come out good on the other side. So don't always blame the people like oh, what's up, Bunker TV? Welcome. And yeah, I used to like John Byrne's X-Men. It's funny about that. He's actually wanted to finish his run on X-Men. He actually, if you go to his website, he has some pages that continues that story that he did way back in the 70s. But Marvel doesn't want to print it for whatever reason. I don't know what their reason is why they don't want to do that. That's almost like guaranteed to make money because he's still a popular artist and he's still very talented as well. And the pages are already done. They just need someone to ink it and color it. But they don't want to do that. I don't know why, but even like I said, at this point, I don't think it would hurt. It was not gonna like it's gonna hurt their sales on whatever they have going on in X-Men. It'll just be like, just say, hey, this is what John Byrne would have done had he kept it going. They've done that before with other artists. I don't know if they just have a bad, they just don't like him anymore or whatever, because that happens too. People have vendettas against certain creators or certain editors, and they just never get a chance to work together ever again. But like I said, he's finished his X-Men story, but they don't want to let him. They don't want to let him print it anywhere. So I don't know what will happen with that. The pages look really good though. Like I was impressed that he still has that much talent, even at his age. It really hasn't diminished. He's actually gotten better over the years. Some artists kind of lose their edge, but his stuff still looks pretty good. But yeah, that that's all I wanted to talk about was my crazy clients. Like I didn't really have a big subject. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the whole controversy or the whole battle with Martin Scorsese and the Marvel films, because he says Martin Scorsese says those are not even that's not cinema. So I want to talk about that next week. That's going to be a bigger discussion. And what I might do is just do an actual video on it, and then we'll discuss it on the live stream next Thursday. So, because I've been wanting to kind of talk about this for a while now. I've been kind of seeing what people are saying. Um, just as a preview of this, my thing is that people. It's weird to me that people are complaining about the Marvel films now only because they make money. Like if you like, there are fans that complain saying, "Oh, there's too many Marvel movies or there's too many comic book movies." But then when a new one comes out, I see you got the same people talking about, I can't wait to go see it, or you're there the first day. Like I don't even go see these things when they first come out. I'll like wait till they come out on DVD or whatever, or Redbox. But everyone else seems like rush out to see them. So I'm like, well, if they're still making money, they're going to keep doing the same. They're going to keep making those things over and over again. If you want it to stop going to see them. It's not oversaturated if you still pay money to go see it. You see what I'm saying? It's like people make these complaints and then they do the opposite of what they say that they have a problem with. But I'm going to talk about that next week. And yeah, I like Mark Scorsese. I think he's a great director too. Some of his films are hit and miss. And what's ironic is he's tried to make films like that. Like he's tried to make like more. He tried to make a fantasy film not too long ago, and the movie bombed. I can't remember the name of it, but he had De Niro in it and everything. But the movie didn't do well, and so it's almost like is he mad that he can't do movies like that, and people have pigeonholed him to only do like mob films, and to me he's made one of the best films I've ever seen, which is Gangs of New York. That's one of my favorite films. I know a lot of people love his mob stuff like Goodfellas, and Casino's actually an underrated film as well. I think Casino, and that's is a lot of people don't realize Casino's based on a true story too. People think that that's just made up, but it's actually based on real people. They just changed all the names in that one because they couldn't get the rights to the actual mobsters that were in that, like they did with Goodfellas. Goodfellas, like they had Henry Hill, who pretty much sold his story to keep his ass from getting shot by the real mob because they put a hit out on him for being a snitch. But Casino is also based on a real true story. But Gangs of New York is my favorite film of all time, which is semi based on reality. They had a lot of people. They had a lot of real people that existed back during those times, but they kind of combined a lot of characters and a lot of the different gangs from that area. So it's not 100% historically accurate, but they added some history in there. But it's a very well done film. Like it's a long film, but I can sit and watch it all day. I like that movie. But I always wonder, like these people who complain about Marvel films, like Jennifer Aniston and who was the other one? There was some other white female who got upset. I was like, if they asked you to be in one of these movies, would you turn them down? Then would they be good movies? Then if they ask you to be in it, you know what I'm saying? It's like I think they're just mad because they can't get that multi-picture deal that Marvel offers. And from what I understand, I thought that they didn't even pay that much money, but I think now that they're owned by Disney and they've done so well that they can pay more money to actors now and to people as well. So and to directors. So I don't see what the big deal is. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that next week. I don't want to get too much into it now, but I do think it's a little there's a little bit of haterade going on there with people who don't like the people in Hollywood who don't like the Marvel films. Because at this point, they're saving Hollywood. They're keeping Hollywood open, so I don't think you should complain about it too much at this point. As long as they're bringing people to the theaters, because really, who wants to pay all this money to go see a movie with the way the theater pricing is structured? It costs way too much to go see a movie nowadays. But I'll talk about that next week. Once again, guys, thank you so much for your support. This is the first Big Monty book. This is also available on Amazon, Big Monty and the Lunatic Lunch Lady. Big Monty and the Cyborg Substitute is now available on Amazon. I will do a video on it once my books get here, so you guys can see it. I posted some images on my Instagram. If you're following me on Instagram, you will see them. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll also see those images as well. Some of the images I drew for the book. So that is available now. And I wanted to send a shout out to Joshua Bullock, very talented artist. He created this comic book called Monarchs. And I actually won this. He did a contest on his page, on his Instagram page, and I was one of the winners of this book. It's literally like a black manga, and it's very well done, by the way. The art is cool. I've been a fan of his for about a year now, just watching him like post artwork on Instagram and other social media platforms. And I was like, it'd be nice if he came out with a book, and finally he did. He actually he didn't waste his talent just posting artwork. He decided to actually make some products, and it's in black and white, just like any manga is on the inside, but it's very well done, very high quality. Like I said, it's called Monarchs. I'm going to see if I can find a link. So I'm actually not 100% sure if it's on sale yet, because I know he just got the books printed, and this was like a contest to kind of like as like a preview to get the books out there. I'm going to check and see when I can post it there for you guys to go see. And I'll do a more formal video on him and his artwork probably next week for next Friday, because I want to, as always, promote the talent that I see out there. But it's a funny book. It's action packed, so it's kind of like Dragon Ball Z. But as far as like the action goes, like I don't want to make that comparison, because I know I'm as an artist, I hate when people compare my stuff to popular things going on. But just to make a comparison, it's like a fight type manga series. So you think about Dragon Ball Z or One Piece or Naruto, that's this, but you got actual black characters in it. And there's actually some, he actually put some really good stuff in there as well, as far as like the teaching kids about their African heritage. He finds a cool way to incorporate it into his project here. So let me see if I spell it correctly. But his name is Joshua Bullock. You can find him on Instagram, and just look up Monarchs on Instagram, and that this little character will pop up. And I think he wants to do some animation as well. So I found a review for it. I'm going to post that here so you guys can see it. Make sure this ad's not playing, but yeah. So here's one of the first reviews for it right now that's on YouTube. It's in the chat. You guys can go check it out. But I think it's a really, really well done book, and I very much appreciate it. Hey, girl. Sorry about that. And like I said, I was just very happy to win this, because like I said, I usually don't win contests at all. So I was surprised that I even won. Usually other people have more time on social media to win contests, and I usually don't. But that was a very pleasant surprise, and I was happy to get it and very much appreciate it. He signed it for me. He dedicated it to me and my daughter, because my daughter likes his artwork as well. So thank you very much, Joshua. I appreciate that a whole lot. So I'll do more of a formal video on it for this channel, so you guys can go check out his stuff, and I'll find more links for you for that. But once again, thank you guys. I appreciate you as always. Stay tuned on this channel. More animation will be up. More artwork will be up for Halloween. And just keep on checking out Chris Crazy House here on YouTube. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you as always for showing up. And make sure you check out the new Big Monty book. And make sure you definitely check out my coloring books as well if you don't have them. Holiday season is coming up, so make sure you go out there and get Naturally Cute and Naturally Cute 2. Chris Miller signing out. Peace.